The Cleveland Browns have a decision to make if they do have interest in DeAndre Hopkins. The question is, with cost, with potential production, are you paying for the name of DeAndre Hopkins? Are you paying for the game of DeAndre Hopkins at the age of 31? All this and more on your latest Locked On Browns.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on ELOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Appreciate all the everydayers who make Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. And my suggestion to anybody new coming to Locked On Browns is be more like the everydayers. And the best way to do that is to subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Notifications on, so when the content drops, you guys are there to digest it. Audio-wise, always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode of Locked On Browns is brought to you by FanDuel Sports Network, the official sportsbook of the NFL. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Hello, everybody. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Been here 7th season in Cleveland Browns coverage, joined today by Sports Illustrated's Pete Smith, Browns Digest, SI.com, one of the best sites for daily content on your Cleveland Browns. I suggest you guys get on it. For today's episode, we're going to get to, look, a lot of speculation about the Browns and what they're going to do, and the potential move at the defensive line. Maybe the Buffalo Bills, hopefully setting the example for what the Cleveland Browns should maybe look as for one final move. The Cleveland Browns made some roster moves today, freed up a little bit more money. We're going to get into those moves. And first and foremost, like you heard in the opening, now, Pete, you put out an article today, and I think everybody pretty much to this point, understands our stance on the pursuit and potential signing of DeAndre Hopkins. Look, DeAndre Hopkins was once one of the most dominant wide receivers in this game. Was never a guy who essentially wowed you with just overall athleticism, smarts. Obviously, we've heard Deshaun Watson talk about his catch radius, the ability to catch everything thrown to him, highlight reel, jump balls, you name it. But does come a time where that aspect of a player's game hits a wall. Look, don't know necessarily, I'm not saying he doesn't have the potential for an 80, 90, 1,200, 1,300-yard season this year. But this would be a situation where he would come to Cleveland to play with Amari Cooper. Probably he's played with solid receivers in the past, but I don't know if he's necessarily played with a wide receiver. I guess it thinks whether or not Hopkins is still in his prime, but Amari Cooper in his prime. You have Elijah Moore, who you can just see from last week. The Cleveland Browns appeared to be very, very excited of their new addition and the trade they made with the New York Jets. You have ideas of what Cedric Tillman could be somewhere down the line, Marquise Goodwin, David Bell, yada, yada. But Pete, you look at what DeAndre Hopkins is able to do, and obviously in a large target amount. And that's probably going to be one of the biggest things if the Browns were to bring him to Cleveland is if you're still paying top price for a player like DeAndre Hopkins, you're not basically going to look at everybody else in that room and just ignore them. Nobody's going to forget what Amari Cooper did for this team last year. Nobody's going to forget what Donovan Peoples-Jones has done coming from a 6th-round rookie. Wasn't expected to play much, but played well. Year 2 obviously took a little bit of a jump. Year 3 took a monster jump here. So this does beg the question, if you're going after Deshaun Hopkins and you've basically got to pay for the name, are you going to get the game, which i.e. is the production that matches the price it would cost?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to argue that if Deshaun Watson returns to form, that he's going to lift up DeAndre Hopkins better than he played this past year in 2021. But he's going to do that for anybody,
True.
Which would include Donovan Peoples-Jones. You know, DeAndre Hopkins is a good player. I'd argue that he's a better player in the red zone and at the catch point than Donovan Peoples-Jones is. He's better at sort of those contested catches.
Sure.
But other than that, they're pretty damn similar, except Donovan Peoples-Jones is faster, not quite as big, but just does other things that are more interesting and I think are more valuable to the Browns. Like in PFF grading, they are damn near identical at the various ranges of the field. They're both better at beating zone than man. They're both really good at the 10 to 20 yard range and both do a decent job, you know, in limited opportunities going down the field. But the biggest thing that separates them, at least now, is explosivity, as some might call it. Just the rate of explosive plays is way higher for Donovan Peoples-Jones. He had 14 this past year on 96 targets. DeAndre Hopkins had 8. And, you know, I went through and broke it down. Damn near 80% of the Browns' touchdown scoring drives had at least one explosive play. That's excluding penalties, or would have been even higher. But you need a play of at least 20 yards in nearly 80% of their drives to score a touchdown. And so you're sort of hurting yourselves in some ways by taking more explosive plays off the field, which is what you would be doing with DeAndre Hopkins now versus Donovan Peoples-Jones. So at some point, you have to make the decision or the calculation, as it were. When is DeAndre Hopkins going to his downward arrow, which nobody denies that he's slower, when is that going to cross with DPJ's upward arrow? And even if Donovan Peoples-Jones doesn't improve at all from where he is now, that downward arrow is still going to cross. My thinking is it's going to be this year. And even if it doesn't, are you willing to pay? You know, Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think, is making off the top of my head like under $3 million this year. DeAndre Hopkins is probably going to make $13 million at least, so $10 more million. I don't see how DeAndre Hopkins is going to be $10 million better than Donovan Peoples-Jones. The thing is, I think the Browns know that too. And I think part of this is they're more than happy to let people talk about how excited people are to play for the Browns because it's good for them. And I think Deshaun Watson is savvy in that regard too. And I don't doubt that Deshaun Watson would love to have DeAndre Hopkins in Cleveland. But I also have to ask, what else is he going to say? Let me know when we're going to see a player come out and go, nah, that dude sucks. He's cooked. I don't want him on my team. I'm good with what we've got. Even if he thinks that, he's not going to say it. They do have a past, and they are buddies. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he would be happy to have DeAndre Hopkins. But I think he is also aware of the trade-off not being quite worth it for what he wants to do. Because reportedly, he likes Donovan Peoples-Jones. And when you compare these two and you look at all these things they do similarly, I think you can understand why.
Well, and there's just so much more to it. You know, I mean, you know, with Hopkins, and to say it's maybe just a one-year thing. Look, you know, there's a lot of us that think that maybe this is the last year Amari Cooper is with this team. So, you know, you bring in Hopkins, now you're committing and you're having Deshaun Watson try to go out there, have the best season he possibly can for this franchise, maybe the best season in franchise history, with two guys that most likely couldn't be here or wouldn't be here, I should say, for 2024. Then you have to basically restart it from there after, you know, you've slowed down, you know, hopefully a growth path for Elijah Moore. Donovan Peoples-Jones would be a free agent at the end of this season. You know, then what are you going to go make amends as you try to restructure him? You have one player that's about to play in his age 24 season. You have another player that's about to play in his age 31 season. And again, even if Donovan Peoples-Jones, and maybe with the addition of Elijah Moore, this does hold Donovan Peoples-Jones to right around the numbers he had last season. That'd be fine because now you're talking about a top 3 at the wide receiver position that you are extremely confident in. They all bring different abilities, different skill sets, all of which find a way to, you know, basically make the music with a player like Deshaun Watson. So you want to see this. And the other thing would be is you're going to have to rebuild this room again. And the Browns have made 2 trades to help this wide receiver room. And out of all the wide receivers they have drafted in 4 drafts with Andrew Berry, the one that has really panned out, the only one that's really panned out, has been Donovan Peoples-Jones. So you would certainly like to see how that relationship, that future can continue in Cleveland. We're going to flip it up here. Cleveland Browns, a little housekeeping here on a Monday as they've made some moves. I wouldn't say anything's bold, but it kind of gives you, an idea of maybe a little bit of the thought process as we get closer and closer here to training camp. Jeff Lloyd, Pete Smith, your latest Locked On Browns. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA Finals because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Look, FanDuel, they have great promotions every day. The app, it's safe, secure, easy to navigate. You get your money instantly. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Jeff Lloyd, Pete Smith, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate all the everydayers who make Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. All of you coming through here, whether it was the drafts, the Darius Smith, some OTA talk. Best way to get your Locked On Browns coverage is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Notifications on, audio-wise, always available, always free wherever you get your podcasts. Continuing through here, Cleveland Browns make some moves here on Monday. The release of offensive tackle Joe Haeg. Obviously, I think some of this had to do with the drafting of DeJuan Jones. Probably certainly had something to do with this. James Hudson, while Joe Haeg was out for most of the season last year, in some smaller opportunities, was able to get some things done, a way to save some money here. Signed a wide receiver, Rashawn Henry. Signed, and this was a little weird because maybe the listing of him was incorrect. Hunter Thedford, who apparently only weighs 260 pounds, so I'm not really sure what that's going to do at the offensive tackle. But Pete, for Joe Haeg for 1 year in Cleveland, hey, we hardly knew you.
Sure, and
was a good signing at the time.
Well, and he hasn't been here for OTAs, and I don't know if that's his decision or the team was just like, look, this is a process thing. We're ultimately going to cut you. You don't need to show up. Either way, this sort of was heading this way when the Browns made the investments in DeJuan Jones, and they still have James Hudson, and they've got a lot of young guys that they want to play. They've made efforts to get cheaper in that room, while in their mind, hopefully giving them more of a direction down the road. So it's not, this was gonna happen at some point. It was just a question of when. I mean, if the Browns wanted a veteran, another veteran tackle, they could always go back to Chris Hubbard.
Good old Chris Hubbard. But the first thing I take away from this is, Pete, is right off the bat, I guess you assume who at least 8 of your offensive line are. We know the 5 starters, obviously Wills, Bitonio, Posick, Wyatt Teller, and Conklin. Obviously, probably planning on keeping both young tackles in Hubbard and, of course, DeJuan Jones. And obviously, the center, backup center, obviously was just drafted this year. Most likely he's going to stay. So offensive line, you're at 8 deep already going into camp. Obviously, of course, this is barring injuries, but good place to be in as you have an idea as to who the main players on this offensive line are going to be. Question's going to be, and it's always been difficult here because of the guys on this offensive line. Conklin has missed some time. Wyatt Teller has had some issues where he has missed time. So obviously finding who's going to be that rotational guard is a key piece.
Well, I mean, they have some options. I think Michael Dunn's a pretty safe bet to be that first guy at backup guard, but they've got Dawson Deaton coming off the ACL from last year. They've still got Drew Forbes.
Drew Forbes feels like he's been here for a decade.
And this may be the year. It may be finally time for Prospect X to make it happen. I still like Drew Forbes. I still think he's got talent, but we'll see. Colby Gossett is whatever. They keep bringing him back to be depth, camp body.
Oh, there is the other. Well, there is the guard they brought up from Washington.
Wes Martin is also a camp body,
yeah.
But who knows? That's one of those things where seemingly your offensive line coach liked him, has had experience in the past with him. So maybe there's something there, but ultimately, I think it's Michael Dunn, and then to be determined that other guy, and the other guy may be could potentially have versatility. Although Michael Dunn can snap if you need to. He's done it before.
And look, it's you want to start getting closer to having less questions. This time of year as moving towards training camp, and obviously with the investment into DeJuan Jones, and hey, who knows? Maybe he's at a point now where guy has been beat up, was out for almost all of 2022 in his time here with the Cleveland Browns. Maybe it's also time where you're starting to realize that maybe you've had your run, and maybe it's been a hell of a run, but maybe it's time to start weighing your options as far as whether or not you want to put your body through the battles to get the return, or is it maybe time to start closing this chapter and opening a next one, start looking to what their future is. But Pete, the potential is here. It's always been here for this offensive line, certainly with the ability to play as a top 5 unit. I think the biggest thing this year is just going to be how much they can maybe, and I don't know if I'm going to call it the workload, but how much they can handle the load as this team appears to be transitioning from a team that is not going to run it as often, is probably going to be putting the ball in the air a little bit more, but still looking to get those home runs with the run game.
Sure. Look, I mean, the balance is great. They want to be able to do both, but the goal for them right now, create more explosive plays, create instant offense and all those things. And that's why you got guys like Elijah Moore, and Donovan Peoples-Jones could potentially take another step with that. Amari Cooper was the leader on the team. David Njoku has the ability, and Nick Chubb, I believe, led running backs last year in explosive plays.
And you're just trying to transcend towards that. And this is, and as Pete said with the numbers before, 80% of scoring drives involved a chunk play, 20 yards or more. And you want to start capitalizing on what you have. And now it's starting to line up where you have all these type of players everywhere. You have the offensive line to put it all together. And as a lot of the talk that has been this offseason will continue to be this offseason is, do you get a Deshaun Watson version commensurate to his time in the Houston Texans, where he was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, led the Texans to a couple of playoff opportunities. This is what the Browns invested in. This is why they have made all these other investments. They are banking on number 4, Deshaun Watson, returning to form and taking this team to what should be, hopefully, the ultimate holy grail for the Cleveland Browns, getting to the AFC North, hosting a playoff game, hopefully contending for the AFC Championship game, and for even possibly a Super Bowl. We're going to get to segment 3 here, and we've done this before, and we continue to do this. When you are attempting to you think you are a team that should be in contention, there are key moves and certain positional groups that you just cannot ignore. And it's the old theory of, I don't care how many I have. It's not enough. We continue. We're going to get to that. Jeff Lloyd, Pete Smith, your latest Locked On Browns. All the new listeners, all the new traffic, finding Locked On Browns is simple. Go to the Locked On Browns YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe, notifications on. Audio-wise, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcast. And we appreciate you all for being along for the ride. We take you all back to 2019. Locked On Browns, we're doing draft coverage and some other good things, off-season coverage. The Cleveland Browns make a trade for Odell Beckham Jr. And Sports Illustrated, Pete's Digest, first reaction is, well, the Ed Oliver dream is dead. Ed Oliver just re-signed with the Buffalo Bills, 4 years, $86 million. Bills shoring up their defensive line for the present and the future, but they also make another move, signing veteran edge rusher, 9 sacks last season for the LA Rams, Leonard Floyd. Numbers still to come. Look, obviously the Bills waiting on Von Miller to find out what exactly his timetable is. Also, more importantly, when he gets on the field, when will he start to look like the Von Miller we've all been accustomed to, potential Hall of Fame player, obviously, down the line. But, Pete, you go to the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that played in the Super Bowl last year, 2 first-round picks. They draft another defensive tackle. They draft another defensive end. You go to the Kansas City Chiefs, won the Super Bowl last year, first-round pick. What do? They go draft a defensive end. If you're a team in contention, if you're a team that's winning a significant amount of ball games, you are going to have teams throwing on you a lot. And it could be great to say, hey, let's get all the secondary guys we can. But there's only so many you can do that with. You can find guys who can solely pass rush, and you don't have to pay them as much, which allows you to give teeth in your defensive line to 7 deep, 8 deep, 9 deep. If these teams are going to throw all over you, eventually they're going to have success because your secondary cannot stay with everybody all day long. But the key is if you can continuously harass the quarterback, it doesn't matter because he's not getting the time he needs to find said open wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Buffalo Bills, the biggest problem they've had on defense is speed to get to the quarterback. And, that epic showdown between the Bills and Chiefs, they had nobody that could get to Pat Mahomes or even challenge him, and he was able to comfortably sit back and just pick it apart. So they had Von Miller. That was a big part in that. But A, he's got the ACL, and B, he's 34. They've got like Gregory Rousseau and some of these other guys are interesting. Boogie Basham really hasn't done much for them, but they're good. They're power ends, but they need more speed. Leonard Floyd gives them another guy that can potentially put pressure on that type of quarterback. And Ed Oliver obviously is an inside pass rusher. The Chiefs, the same problem in that game against the Bills. They've been trying to get faster up front, getting more dynamic up front. Chris Jones is as good as it gets, but they needed more guys that could put pressure on. Frank Clark, was awful for the past 2 regular seasons. And then they get Felix Azuma Udoka, who is phenomenal in terms of talent and everything else. Not necessarily a speedy guy, but flexible, has a lot of ability to do those type of things. So it's just the same way the Browns are with Zadarius Smith. Like, everybody wants to get more guys that can attack the quarterback. Obanya Okoronkwo, same deal. Like, that's the deal. That becomes the arms race, and those guys hitting or failing is a big deal. And obviously, you look at the other end of it. Chandler Jones did nothing for the Raiders, and that team was god awful. And now, they may be trying to get out of that contract, or the Jets, who they've got a lot of guys, and then they've got some reinforcements coming back with Lawson coming off the ACL. Should be recovered. They restructured his deal, so they feel like they should be able to get more of a pass rush on top of what they've already had.
You're bringing up Chandler Jones, and you're omitting the greatest lateral interception return for a touchdown in NFL history, Pete?
Well, I feel like that was an inside job.
Yeah, well, where did Jacoby Myers sign anyway, did he?
That's right. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I want to make sure I'm loved when I walk into the building for the first time.
Hero.
Hey, remember what I did for you? I made y'all look good. But look, the point is you want to be able to, and look, we've talked a ton about, obviously the Browns have to have needed improvement in stopping the run. Last year at times they were just absolutely manhandled. Again, you go to the Atlanta game where everybody in the building knew it was coming, and there was zero zilch the Cleveland Browns could do about it. But in the way the NFL is played today, and the way it's played with good football teams, is you have to have the ability to get after the passer. The quarterbacks are just getting better and better and better. When it used to be, you can't give them 3 seconds. Now you can't even give them 2 seconds, and it'll get even. Look, I mean, the reading ability, the fact that they can change everything at the line of scrimmage as quickly as they do, the run pass options. The only answer for it is to have ridiculously freakish athletes who have fantastic ability with their hips, their ankles, all their pass rushing moves, the ice pick, the swim move, all of that stuff, to be able to parlay that all together as fast as you possibly can and disrupt the timing of the quarterback. It's essential, and we're talking about the AFC East here. I'm sorry, the AFC in general here, where it is basically a who's who of quarterbacks all throughout. It's the most paramount thing. The Browns, if not at least one more move to make on the defensive line, possibly a second one, because you want to know that, again, you can never have too many, but you would like to be in the possibility where, hey, if we had to, we can maybe move on from so-and-so. This is a position, Pete, very much to, honestly, when you're looking at your skill players, defensive line players should be viewed as skill players. You can never have enough, and if there's ever any chance that you can possibly make that unit better, you have to take the opportunity.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's why we keep harping on defensive tackle. It's terrifying that, if Dalvin Tomlinson sneezes too hard, that the Browns are back to where they were last year in a lot of ways. You just can't have enough guys. Even Jim Schwartz is talking about, I want to be able to run, have 8 and 9 guys be effective, because that's how many it takes. You want guys to be able to.
Because you'd also like to have 5 on the field at times. So that's kind of one of the reasons is, well, I'm going to have 5 on the field. I'd like to be able to sub 2, 3, 4 off. What if I need to?
Right. And you just, what you can do with pressure, everything gets better for you defensively when you're able to make the quarterback uncomfortable. So that's where it becomes just a massive opportunity for the Browns to get better. They feel really good about their DBs. They want to pay it off on the other end and make sure that those guys aren't just able to stop the pass, but are able to now potentially make plays and cause turnovers and win games that way.
And you've got the right recipe. You just need to add to it more on the defensive line. The secondary looks like it should be an extremely strong unit. The fact that we're talking about, the fact that we're not sure, how many reps are possible for both Greg Newsome and Martin Emerson after Denzel Ward. That is a good problem to have when you're trying to say, because defensively, obviously, look, you don't want to be out there that often. So obviously you want to be able to have these guys get out there and get after it. And do their thing. But, it just putting the quarterback essentially on his ass. That's all that matters, because you don't have to worry about your coverages. You don't have to worry about your open field tackling. The more opportunities you get to drop the quarterback makes everybody's life that more easy. He is Pete Smith, BrownsDigestSI.com. Again, daily content over there. Fantastic. Podcast, Pete and his crew, they do a fantastic job. News breaks, they have it taken care of, and they have their feedback on it up quickly. So again, sportsillustrated.com. Make sure you're checking out Browns Digest. Make sure you're following at _Pete Smith _ myself, Jeff Lloyd at Jeff _LJ _Lloyd. The show at Locked On Browns, follow back account. DMs are open, as everybody knows the drill, the way it works over there. As always, appreciate the everydayers who make Locked On Brown their first listen. You guys, again, you are the fabric of which this show was made and will continue to remain as far as that is concerned. And the best way to do that and become part of the everydayers is to make sure you are subscribed to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Notifications on audio wise. We are available and always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.